A drone attack on the UAE's Barakah nuclear plant last month was potentially more dangerous than the situation at Ukraine's Zaporizhzhia facility, according to International Atomic Energy Agency Director General Rafael Grossi. Grossi said that it was due to the reactors being in operation at the time.
Hitting a nuclear power plant is an extremely serious and irresponsible act. You can draw parallels maybe with what is happening in Zaporizhzhia between Russia and Ukraine. And the difference there, although it's a very serious situation and the IAEA is working there and is a very delicate problem that we have in our hands, the reactors are in what we call shut down. So they are not running, they are not operating. Barakah is operating. So this makes it potentially even more dangerous.
Grossi added that the attack is among the most significant nuclear safety concerns currently facing the international community. As UAE Deputy Chairman of the Board of Management of the Federal Authority for Nuclear Regulation, Hamad Al-Kabi described the attack as a serious escalation and a violation of international law.
The fact that the plant's been targeted and attacked is it's an unacceptable and it's clear violation of international law. There was no radiation release, there was no failure of any systems. Attacking a nuclear power plant is not a scenario you plan for every day in terms of potential scenarios for nuclear accidents, but it's a reality now.
UAE authorities previously said that they were determined the attack came from Iraq. The incident will now be discussed at a special session of the IAEA Board of Governors in Vienna. Barakah is the Arab world's first operational nuclear power plant and one of the largest in the world by output.
Lebanese Culture Minister Hassan Salameh hopes that the new ceasefire agreed between Israel and Lebanon on Wednesday is more genuine than the previous one reached in April, which he says was not implemented.
It was not even a truce. I mean, hundreds of people have been killed during the 6 weeks, these 6 past weeks after the announcement of the latest or penultimate ceasefire agreement.
Salameh said it is too early to decide how serious this new ceasefire is, but he stressed Lebanon takes it seriously. The fact that some Israeli ministers are rejecting the agreement is, quote, not very helpful, he added. The talks were led by the United States in Washington.
Without American pressure, we were not expecting the Israeli government to move forward towards such agreement. So it is under American sustained pressure that we can expect a real implementation this time.
The agreement calls for the withdrawal of the Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. Salameh expects the Iran-backed group to express its position during the day.
Hungary has lifted its 2-year-long veto on Ukraine's bid to join the European Union on Wednesday evening, allowing the process to enter its next phase of negotiations. The breakthrough, which ends the veto, allows Ukraine and Moldova to formally open the first cluster of negotiations, known as fundamentals. It took place during a meeting of ambassadors in Brussels, several diplomats told Euronews. For the past 2 years, Ukraine and Moldova, which are informally coupled as candidates, were being blocked by former Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban. The change was only made possible after Orban was defeated in the polls by Peter Magyar. Magyar noted that he remained opposed to fast-tracked accession, a view widely shared by other member states, wary of endangering the integrity of enlargement. The Intergovernmental Conference, which marks the formal starting point, is expected to take place on either the 15th or 16th of June in Luxembourg.
Pictures of Ukrainian fallen soldiers are displayed at the Wall of Remembrance in Kyiv. NATO chief Mark Rutte and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky honored them on Wednesday. They laid red flowers and posed for a moment in front of their portraits. The ceremony was attended by senior military officials and representatives of all 32 NATO member states. The NATO Secretary General's visit to Kyiv on Wednesday had not been announced. It comes after a series of large-scale fatal Russian attacks on the Ukrainian capital over the recent weeks. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has been appealing to NATO members for help to protect Ukraine from Russian ballistic missile attacks. For their part, Ukraine hit energy and military sites in St. Petersburg with drones at the start of a flagship economic forum there, just hours before Rutte's arrival in Kyiv.
For years, Baltic states squeezed between Russia and Belarus have been warning of the risks that Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine poses to the region. The alert on May 20th for people to flee underground over a drone in Lithuanian airspace was the starkest reminder in years that emergency planning should be fully operational. However, the incident revealed that for many residents, this was not the case.
We knew the shelters. We went to one of them, but it was covered in cobwebs, and it seemed that no one is there for sure, or it wasn't unlocked for a really long time and it wasn't marked. So we then passed another one that also didn't have any signs, and then we came to the one that I'm standing next to at the moment. And yeah, it's the biggest shelter, it seems, from the maps. And we couldn't get in for like 18 minutes, probably.
Problems were so commonplace that Lithuania's prime minister, who had taken shelter with other lawmakers, offered a public apology for communication errors and vowed a review of procedures.
I think that you cannot be fully prepared for all the situations and actions. But what we tested and what we actually and how we reacted shows that we have a system, we have a knowledge, we have an infrastructure, but at the same time, there's still some gaps that we would like to fix. And I think that there was a good exercise for the government, for the institutions, for the businesses, and for the simple citizens who was participating.
The goal is also to train more of Lithuania's 2.8 million citizens for the event of an emergency and to roll out a network of modular training facilities that could serve as shelters.
Protests have continued in Albania against a massive coastal development project linked to Jared Kushner, the son-in-law of U.S. President Donald Trump. Hundreds of demonstrators on Wednesday took to the streets of Tirana for the fourth day to voice their opposition to the project that the government says would be transformational for the former communist nation.
Fillimisht ne protestojmë për ndërhyrjen që është bërë të dalin makineritë, të lirohet natyra dhe të rikthehet në gjendje më të parshme. Por nga ana tjetër, projekti I cili është prezantuar dhe sipërfaqja që prezantohet aty është shkatrimtare, nga renda që kemi parë.
The luxury project linked to Kushner's investment firm and Ivanka Trump spans an abandoned island and a nearby stretch of seafront on Albania's southern coast. It has drawn opposition from environmental campaigners and critics of Prime Minister Edi Rama. On Tuesday, Rama said Albania should not be a country that fears an extraordinary project like this one, adding that, quote, there is absolutely no chance that the investment will stop as long as I am here.
Up to 1.3 million jobs across the EU are at risk because of the ongoing war in the Middle East, European Commissioner for Jobs Roxana Minzatu said on Wednesday. Jobs in energy-intensive industries are particularly at risk, she said at a press conference.
Let me also underline that increased energy costs will have a particular negative impact on lower-income households in Europe, which is why we recommend that all member states take targeted measures so that they can support vulnerable groups.
The conflict, which began when Israel and the US hit Iran in February, has led to a surge of energy prices. The war also slowed European growth and drove inflation higher, according to the latest European economic forecasts. The package dedicates significant space to employment. Minzatu said that 77% of European companies report that skill shortages remain a significant barrier to investment.
We cannot attract talents, we cannot reduce shortages, we cannot improve people's earnings without making sure we have good working conditions.
Since the beginning of this mandate, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has made competitiveness one of the Commission's highest priorities.
Hundreds of objects have already been found during an excavation process at Paris's Notre Dame Cathedral. The process was sparked as the town wants to turn the square in front of the cathedral into a space with trees and shade. Archaeologists are excavating 4 meters down, reaching remains dating back to Roman Paris and covering roughly 20 centuries of history.
Au moment de la construction de Notre-Dame, il faut imaginer que tout le parvis, il est construit de maisons médiévales. Il y a une rue au milieu du parvis et il y a des maisons au sud et il y a des maisons au nord. Donc on a retrouvé ces maisons, les fondations de ces maisons, évidemment elles ne sont plus en élévation, les fondations de ces maisons, les caves de ces maisons.
According to the archaeologists, the first traces appear 50 centimeters down, and some days they feel 15 crates full of objects. Among the findings are jugs and cups, ceramics, medieval pottery, and even a coin with the face of Constantine, the Roman emperor who ruled in the early 300s AD. The new square with 160 trees is part of Paris's plan to adapt to global warming. It should mostly be finished by 2028.